17 buildings, 100 tenants, $170,000 net, and over $1 million in gross profits every single month. Now, that's not me, guys, but it is a landlord that actually met today while signing a lease for one of my clients. And here's the thing, guys. In this video, I'm going to show you guys and actually tell you guys exactly the 3 pieces of advice that landlord actually gave me to become a success how he is today. Imagine making $170,000 every single month, passive income net. It's absolutely insane. And having 17 buildings in New York City. That's crazy. So if you guys don't know me, my name is TommyBryson. I'm an accountant. I upload videos every single day on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you get notified. On top of that, hit the like button. Really appreciate it. And it helps the channel out a ton. Helps the channel grow. So thank you so much. We hit the like buttons. And here's a question for you guys. What would you do with $170,000 today, passive income, every single month coming in without you having to do anything whatsoever? Now, if you ask me this question, in reality, to think about one person or someone that I know in the Bronx that has over 17 buildings, it's absolutely insane. You know, it just shows me that, hey, whatever you want is possible, because a lot of people that came before you already achieved this, so there's no reason that you can't do it. So to me, the number is great, but the possibility is even better. Now, before I tell you exactly what the landlord actually told me after asking like 1,000,001 questions, I want to tell you the background on how I actually got the opportunity to actually meet that landlord. And here it goes, guys. My client that owns a barbershop wanted a second one. He went to this guy that had one there for like 10 years, a good location obviously, and he bought it out of him for $60,000, including the payments for the late rent and also $40,000 for that tenant. Now, you might say, Tommy, that is a lot of money, but in reality, it is not. That location was worth over $120,000, but the reason he got it for such a good price was because the tenant was in trouble, late payments on rent, because he had bad money management and he was spending all the money on personal stuff, and he got into a lot of debt. Thus, he got into a big hole, and my client stepped in and took the barbershop right under his belly or under his feet. Okay, whatever you want to call it. But the main thing is this. The pro of doing this is that you get a location that makes around $12,000 every single month. And the bad thing is that, hey, you know, it's $12,000, but you just put in $60,000. So that might be like an opportunity cost. But in reality, who cares when you're going to make that money back in less than like 8 months, okay? No big deal there. Now, I want to tell you exactly what went down, because when we were there, signing the entire lease over to my clients, well, the landlord was there, obviously, and I asked him 1,000,001 questions, and he answered all of them, thankfully. And I'm going to tell you exactly what he told me from all these mini lessons that she told me while I was asking him all these questions. Now, number one is this. You know, we've been talking to the landlord for a very long time, and also the tenant, going back and forth on the price. And the main thing is this, guys. Number one is know who's in control when you walk in the room. Now, when I was in there, guys, I noticed one thing. I noticed that my client was very happy, and I noticed that the tenant was very sad, in tears, shattered, crying, because he made a big mistake and lost a very valuable business. Now, I saw something that I didn't notice before, and it was that the landlord was indifferent about the entire thing. The only thing he wanted was his late money payments on his rent, and that's all he cared about. And that's what I like to call a position of power. While everyone was emotional, he was just like there like, hey, I'm going to get my money either way, either from you guys or another person, because I know this is a good location and I own the entire thing. So I'm in power, I have control, and I noticed that instantly. I said, you know what, this guy's in power, I have to ask him a lot of questions. And the more I thought about the entire scenario with the tenant, the new tenant trying to get in was my client, and also the landlord, I thought about this entire structure when it comes to business, when it comes to like real estate in this sense, okay? And it's that, you know, you have tenants, you have landlords, you have banks and lenders, and then you also have the Fed, like the pinnacle of this entire thing that controls like inflation rates and unemployment. But the main thing is this, guys, right? The tenant is worried about, hey, I have to pay my rent, I have to make the money, I have to pay it back. Now, the tenant pro is that, hey, you make the money, you have no liability, and the main thing is that the con is that whenever you walk out that store, well, you know that you don't own the building, you don't own anything. So if you were there for 10 years paying $10,000 every single month, it doesn't matter, because you still walk out of there with nothing. You just get profits, but you don't really own anything. It's not yours, you're just renting there, and that's all it is. Now, when it comes to a landowner, well, this guy, in a sense, is taking all the risks where, you know, it's my property and all this fancy stuff. But in reality, he's the person that's more in control, because he can easily kick you out if you're not paying rent and rent it out to someone else. And then that land appreciates over time. And no matter what, he will be getting constant rent payments every single time. And then you also have the lenders. The banks. The banks lend the money to the landlord, thus he can actually get the entire like property. But if the landlord doesn't pay, well, the bank can actually take the property back. Thus, the bank has a lot of control here. And when it comes to the federal rate, well, these people are in charge of making sure the economy is still stable. And if you ask me, well, Tommy, what position do you want to play in this entire game? The answer is I'd rather be 10 times the landlord or the lender. Once you're the landlord or the lender, you have a lot more control and a lot more leverage. Once you're the tenant, well, you're making money, but if it goes bad for you, you get kicked out, somebody replaces you. But when you're the landlord, you have a lot more control. When you're the lender, well, you have a lot more control, and all that money that comes in, most of the time, is always passive, which is absolutely great. So if you ask me again, what do you prefer? I prefer a landlord and lender. Those are my main goals right now, to become a landlord and a lender. That's what I want to focus on. Now, the second lesson I learned from this landlord was compound results. Tommy, what do you mean by this? Well, compound is when the act of like something compounding on each other, thus making more of it, right, over time. Now, I noticed one thing here, guys, and it's that every person out there is so impatient these days. You know, we can barely watch a 5-second ad on YouTube, and I noticed something. You know, this landlord has been doing this for the past 30 years. When I asked him, how do you get started? He told me, well, Tommy, I took a real estate course, became an agent, and that's how I got started. And he told me this was 30 years ago, and when I first got started, well, by the way, before I tell you how you got started, I want to tell you one thing here, okay? When someone takes a real estate course and becomes like an agent, whatever you want to call it, well, what they're doing here is actually learning on someone else's dollars. If they make mistakes, doesn't matter. They actually learn the entire system from somebody else while still getting paid for their efforts. So that's great. Great tactic here. Now, number 2 is this, guys. Now, while he was working as a real estate agent, number 2 is this. He started to invest into real estate. What type of real estate? Well, residential properties. And this is called getting started in the game as soon as possible. Maybe even starting small. Doesn't really matter as long as you're in the game. Now, when he started with residential properties. And now, obviously, he has around 17 builders, which is a big deal. But that's not how he actually got started. You don't get started by just flying. You get started by just walking, crawling, and then walking, and then slowly but surely you keep going up and up and up and up, and you just keep buying and buying and buying, and all those efforts starts to compound against each other. Now, the third thing he actually revealed to me is that, you know, Tommy, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't own all these buildings by myself. I also have partners. Now, I asked him, who are your partners? He told me, well, Tommy, my partners are my family members. They actually help me out with everything that I'm doing right now. Now, my initial thought was, okay, you know, silver spoon, gold spoon. But in reality, that's not the case. This guy started as a real estate agent, and he probably pulled in money from his family also, because his family saw that he knew what he was doing. And it's not a bad thing when you have family to help you. By the way, I wish I had a lot of family members that were successful also, so that we can do the same thing together and then become a lot more successful, a lot more faster. But in most cases, in my case specifically, I'm doing it all by myself, and I get help every now and then, but in reality, I'm doing everything all by myself, and that's not what I want for my future family. So if I can produce results now and then pass those on to my children, then why wouldn't I do that? It's not about golden spoons, it's not about silver spoons. It's all about creating a future for your family members where they don't need to start from zero. They'll always start from 20, maybe 50%, or whatever it is, but they never start from zero. Because starting from zero absolutely sucks, okay? Now, I also want to say this, guys, okay? He also told me one thing here, Tommy. When it comes to patience, you have to understand something. A lot of people out there, they always talk about, you know, make sure whenever you buy something, it has to be like cash flow and positive, like making a profit every single month. And he told me, Tommy, you know, whenever you buy a deal, sometimes you won't make a positive cash flow. Sometimes you won't make money for the first 5 years, but that's fine. That's okay. And I asked him, how can you possibly justify that? He told me, you know what, Tommy? In 5 years' time, you can raise the rent on these entire like commercial units and also on top. And the main thing is this: you can always raise the rent, lower the mortgage payments, and then guess what? You can always go positive then. But if you don't get in the door while you still can, the prices will still keep going up and up and up unless something crazy happens. But in reality, if nothing happens, well, you're going to stay out the game until you find this secret deal, but you never really know. So my main thing is this: you have to be patient sometimes. It's not always like, okay, you know, positive, which is great, but sometimes you have to go in the deal knowing that you won't be positive for a while, but knowing that eventually you will be positive and it will be turning around a lot of money. Because here's my thing, guys. When we first bought that building that we were negotiating, well, guess what? When he bought that building, he bought it for $7 million and he was not positive. Now that building right now, back in 2013, he bought it for $7 million, and now that building is worth around $15 million. Now if he said, you know what, it's not going to be positive, well, he would have never gotten to a $50 million building, guys. It's insane, you know. 17 buildings in New York, absolutely crazy. Now you're probably asking me, well, Tommy, how do I get these partners? How do I get all this information? Well, the answer is this, okay? If you don't know anyone in your family, go out there to courses, seminars, and meet those people and actually connect with them and see if they can become your partners if they are reliable. On top of that, if you want to learn everything, either learn on somebody's dollar by working for them or just read books and take courses, no problem there. Now, number 3 is patience. Now, you might say, Tommy, you know, compound interest is kind of like patience too, so why are you talking about this? Well, the answer is this, you know, you never really think about patience until you see what success really is. You know, usually results, statistics show this, that usually takes a person around 7 years to become a master at their craft, and then 20 years to become a real success at what they're doing. Same with Sam Walton, same with the guy from McDonald's, same with all these people here. It's a trend. Now, the main thing is this, when it comes to patience, a lot of entrepreneurs out there, especially me, when I first started, I wanted results, and I didn't want to wait till tomorrow. I wanted to get my results today, ASAP. And a lot of times you have to realize that this is going to take a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of patience. But then I go back to my original question and I say to myself, okay, do I rather be a tenant, a landlord, a lender, or the Fed? You know, and I say to myself, you know what? I want to be a landlord, I want to be a lender, and these things take time. And while it might take a lot of time, once I reach that position, I will be better off. And for everyone out there who says, you know, Tommy, I can't wait 30 years to succeed. Most people out there, they don't wait 30 years, they wait 40 years to retire and live a mediocre life. Which is basically, how can you retire at 65, have no savings, and then expect now to start living? It doesn't work like that. Now, everyone out there has a 9 to 5 that has been investing money, saving money, living like below their means. I appreciate that so much, because in reality, 1 in 5 millionaires out there, they have irregular 9 to 5 jobs. So I'm not saying you have a job, you suck. I'm saying that if you have a job and you're not moving forward, then you're doing something wrong, and it's time to change, okay? And guys, in reality, those are the 3 main things I learned from this guy, and I'm very appreciative that you get the chance to actually talk to him. And the main thing is this, guys, comment down below and let me know, do you think this makes sense? Do you think it doesn't make sense whatsoever? By the way, 17 buildings, okay? 17 buildings. He told me, Tommy, this one building here makes me $60,000 every single month. The mortgage is $50,000, so I make $10,000 from it net, and I have 17 more. But in reality, the full story is this. He's been doing this for 30 years. So in reality, some of those buildings are already paid off. So guess what? He's not netting anything. He's making all the profits because he's not paying a mortgage on those buildings anymore. So think about that. I'm saying, like, you know, $170,000 every single month, but in reality, it might be a lot more money. So it's absolutely insane, absolutely crazy. And if you ask me, Tommy, what did you do with this connection? Well, I told him once a month, whenever he comes down to collect rent, I want to talk to him and sit down and see what advice he actually has for me. Because again, it's all about learning from the correct people. And this guy has 30 years of knowledge that I can use for my benefits and also for your benefits. So why not ask him all these questions? You know what I mean? So guys, as always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. Really appreciate it. Help the channel out a ton. Thank you so much. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get notified. On top of that, if you want something one-on-one, uno, just DM me on Instagram at TommyBryson.com. Why did I say .com, okay? Just DM me on Instagram at TommyBryson. And if you want to watch more videos about investing, well, click this video right here. It's all about investing. On top of that, if you want to subscribe to the channel right now, click my face right here. And I'll see you guys tomorrow in this video you're watching. And peace.